We're joined here today with Desiree, who is thankfully enough letting me turn her into a zombie. So there are a few things to know when you're starting this out. So we already went over allergies with her, making sure that she's not allergic to any of the products that we're going to be using. She's already prepped and cleaned her face completely. There's no makeup left on her face. That's how you want your model to start, is no makeup at all. It should be as free and clear of oils as possible. These adhesives and prosthetics will work the best on more of a dry skin. Certain areas, if you're looking for a really strong hold, you could even go in with a light swipe of 70% alcohol. Just be very gentle with it. Of course, it is going to be drying to the skin, and you don't want to damage it. So if you need to remove a little bit of moisture from the skin, if there's a lot of oil remaining, just a clean little swipe with only 70% alcohol to give you a better tack for things to stick onto. So that's how you want the face, is being prepped completely clean, free of all makeup, free of dirt, free of oil, free of powder, everything, or the area you're applying to. Now the prosthetics, I've pulled them all out of the packaging. To start here with the silicone prosthetic, just to tell you a little bit about this. So this part here in the center, this little area, this is the only thing in the prosthetic that we care about. This is the actual prosthetic. Everything outside of this is considered the flashing, is what it's called. Now, this part here, we don't need any of this. So we're gonna cut all of this outside area away because we don't need it. But we do want it to stay in this until we're ready to use it, because it will keep this flashing intact. Now you can see how thin this flashing is here. You want that. You want this flashing to be very thin and very smooth like this, because this is what you actually blend away to blend seamlessly into the skin. So when you get the product, when you're ordering a pre-made one like this, what you're gonna do is take some scissors and just cut out lightly around the edge. You wanna leave a good bit of the flashing there so you can blend it away. Think of this, remember, this is an encapsulated silicone prosthetic. So this has that coating of that plastic layer on it that's very similar to those thin bald caps that we were doing. So remember, when we adhered the bald cap to the skin and then we blended the edge away with the acetone, we're gonna be doing the exact same thing with this. It's just a different method, but a similar material to use. So when you're ready to use these, what you're gonna do with some tiny scissors is just cut right through. I like to separate them to start, and then work one at a time. Now again, we don't need any of this tiny outside area. But we want to keep the flashing intact. So just cutting around, making sure not to ruin the piece. And you can see very easily there's a pretty distinct area on the prosthetic where you can see where the actual flashing starts and the prosthetic ends. Just make sure you're not getting too close, otherwise you lose that beautiful blend edge. At the end of the day, it's safer to cut a little bit wider than you think you should versus cutting closer on these. Because if you cut too close, there's only so much you can do to get that area back. And then this is just trash. But again, if you're ordering an encapsulated piece, it should come like that with the outside flashing on it to maintain this intact. So also, what you're gonna do, aside from prepping your model's skin, is you're gonna prep the pieces. Now, all we have to do to prep these pieces, and this goes for any piece that you're gonna use. It doesn't matter if it's latex or silicone or gelatin. The prosthetic transfers you don't have to do this to because they come ready to apply. But any of the other three types, you want to take a sponge and some alcohol and just wipe around them. That's because prosthetics come in the demolding process. There's a lot of baby powder and releasing agents and things that are used on them to actually help demold them. And some of that still remains sometimes. So you want to clean it off. That way you have a really clean edge and you have a really smooth surface to work on. If you have these, like, I can feel that there's some powder and releasing agent on this. So if I were to try and adhere this to the skin right now, it's not going to work because it has too much on it right now. There's too much stickiness and tackiness. It's just not going to work. Same with the latex ones. The latex ones, you'll see, they're very light, very soft in comparison to the silicone ones, but I definitely feel a lot of powder on here, so you really want to make sure that you clean it off well. Now, in comparison, this is the foam latex one. This tiny little outside edge, this is also considered the flashing. So this area, you don't need to cut anything on these. These are ready to apply immediately. So foam latex, don't cut anything. It's only the encapsulated silicone that you're going to be cutting anything out from. But you're going to clean them both off really lightly, and again, be very delicate with it. You're not trying to scrub anything away, just a really light clean. This is a great thing, especially if you have assistants, which is always nice to have extra hands when you're working on this in the professional world. You can have your assistants cut them out. You can have your assistants clean them for you while you get the model prepped and ready and everything else ready to go. So this is a great thing to use for that. Just do a really quick, clean swipe on the front and the back of the pieces. And I'm only using 70% alcohol for this because you just don't need it to be that high into the 90 or the 99, but if that's all you have, you can use it too. And you can see a big difference between the two. This one is cleaned off and this one's not. You see how it just brings a lot of life back into it? It's very visible to see that there's still some light powder around here. So once that's clean, you can put that guy down. Get your next one clean. And you'll notice too, depending on the prosthetic that you're using, this one, it might be hard to see on camera, but this one has some little grooves on the inside because this is for the cheek and it's meant to look like it's kind of like some torn flesh a bit. Make sure you get into those little grooves too. Don't just do a swipe on the top outside if there's some big grooves there. Really get into them a little bit. If there's some tiny little areas, you might need to do a little Q-tip or a tiny brush to get around in there. But just make sure you hit all the areas of it. You'll see I'm kind of reshaping it back into what it was. That way it can just rest in its natural position. We're going to do the same thing to our latex pieces. Now you see the latex is a bit more delicate than the silicone. The silicone does move, or is a little bit more rigid, but moves more like skin when it's on. But these are very tiny, thin pieces, these latex ones. So just be very soft and gentle so you don't rip it. They can rip fairly easily. I'm just going to take a quick little spritz of alcohol on here, not a lot, but I do just want to do a quick little swipe on the cheek area and especially on top of the eyebrows, just in case in the makeup removal process there is any remaining oil left over. We want it to adhere fairly well. Now with these prosthetic adhesives, they are totally safe to put in the hair. Of course, you don't want them to get into the eyelashes, but the eyebrows and the hair are totally safe to have them in. It's not like liquid latex. Liquid latex you can't put near the hair. If it touches the hair, it'll rip the hair out. But prosthetic adhesives, totally safe to be in the hair. Something to note, if you are going to be putting a big piece on someone that will be going over the eyebrows or into the eyebrows, if they have really big bushy eyebrows, you might need to flatten them down with that same gaff quat that we used for the bald cap. It's a really great thing to do if the eyebrows are really bushy and kind of in your way when you're trying to apply it. Just flatten them down with that gaff quat, let it dry, and then you can put the adhesive right on top of it. Same thing again, similar to the bald cap, it's just a different method that we're using in a different area of the face. But if they're really big and bushy, you can hold them down like that. Same thing with the body. If you're doing prosthetics on the body and there's a lot of body hair that you're battling with and they don't want to shave it, obviously shaving is always the best method, but not everyone wants to shave their body hair or can shave it for whatever reason. So if they have a lot of body hair that you're battling with, sometimes if it's really fine body hair, you can just stick it down with the glue, the same exact adhesive, and it'll hold down. But again, you can use that gaff pot to really hold things down and make a flat surface for you. So take what you already know from the previous modules and bring that into play if you're having challenges and learn how to work through them. So after you've prepped your pieces, what I'm going to do is take a bit of our no color powder, and I'm going to show you how to offer the prosthetics up. So offering up the prosthetic is a term that just means planning out where you're going to be placing it. So before you put any adhesive on anywhere, what you want to do is you want to take the prosthetic and you want to hold it in the area to get an idea of where it's going to go before you just stick it on and it's in the wrong place. So no adhesive here. What we're going to do is we're going to look around and see where this fits. So this is for the right eye. Let's see where this is going to go in. It looks like this is going to fit right around here. As you can see, you can tell it's going to do that because right over here has a cutout for the temple of the face. Remember, we're making a zombie character, so a zombie is kind of undead and the bones are more prominent. So you can tell that the temples are cut out here, and this is going to be open because we have something to put on the nose here, so it leaves space for the nose one. This is for the right eye, so the temple goes there, as opposed to putting it there. It closes her eye off, it wouldn't fit on the nose, it wouldn't make sense to have it there. Sometimes too, these prosthetics will come with photos of what and where to place them. That's always great when you're still figuring it out, but again, take it, put it on there, put it in all the different ways and see what looks best before you just try and throw it on. So when you figure out where you want it to go, close your eyes for me, have your model close their eyes, and what you're gonna do is hold it in place of where you want to glue it down. So figure it out where you want the placement to go specifically. And once you have it pretty much figured out, keep kind of tinkering with it until you get it to where you like it before it goes down. Because once it's down, it's down. So get the placement right and then work from there. So I think if we kind of have it about here, it's going to look really good. So what I'm going to do is with my no color powder and a tiny little brush here, I'm going to put some powder around the outside edge. This is going to give us an outline of exactly where we want the prosthetic to be placed. That way we know where to put the glue and where to put it back in once the adhesive is on there. You can also, if you want to, you can take a little bit of like a white eyeliner or something like that and just draw tiny little hash marks in different areas around it if that helps you. But the powder's pretty easy. It kind of gives you just a light background of where to go. And you'll see I'm maneuvering it in specific areas to see where it's going to be going down. I'm not putting it around the inside of the eye, just the outside. You do need a good bit of powder for this for it to actually show up. So then when you remove, open your eyes, turn this way for me. You see you have a general outline of exactly where the prosthetic will be placed, so you know you're going to put the glue in this area up to there, and then you can take this once it has been ready to be applied and just hover it over and boom, place it exactly right there. Do the exact same thing to the other side. So figure out where you want the placement to go. See, again, you can tell that this one's made for the left cheek because it has that left temple cut out to it. And it's important to note too, when you're doing a prosthetic makeup, you need to know what the wardrobe is going to be. For example, if someone is going to be wearing a costume that has to go over their head, they need to put that costume on first, because you don't want someone to be trying to pull a turtleneck over top of this beautiful prosthetic makeup that you spent 3 hours applying and coloring. So knowing what they're meant to be wearing before you get started is going to help you a lot. It'll save you time, and it'll also save you a hassle at the end. Having capes on hand to cape them so you don't get glue or adhesive or anything on the outfit is going to be hugely important. Now we have our outline there as well. This one here is meant to go on the bridge of the nose to give a more zombie-like appearance, which is going to be placed pretty much in this similar area. Now this one, we don't really need to put too much of the powder down all over the place because it has kind of this centerpiece we can base everything off of. But you do want to make sure that it's going to fall in line with everything else that you place down. So I'm going to format it about there. And then I'm just going to do a powder on the top of the nose and a little bit on the top of the forehead between the brows here. So that way we have a starting point and a stopping point of where it's going to go. Now I'm going to start with those, and then we'll move our way into the silicone ones on the cheek, but I'm going to start my way top and move our way down. So now that we have everything prepped and ready and we know exactly where it's going to be placed, I have everything, every cup is labeled so we know exactly what it's going to be. We are going to be using a lot of clear liquids, a bunch of them. So having everything labeled specifically so you know exactly what it is that you're grabbing is going to be very important for this. So I'm going to be using Pros-Aid for this because these are latex pieces. And depending, Pros-Aid comes in cream form and also liquid form. It's a personal preference at the end of the day. Some people really prefer the cream form of Pros-Aid because it's not as runny as the liquid form of Pros-Aid, but I like the liquid form of Pros-Aid. I find it to be a little bit more flexible and it dries a bit quicker than the cream form does. The cream takes a minute longer to dry down. And what we're gonna be working off of is little cotton buds. You can, of course, again, you can use your brushes if you want. Just know that you have to have your alcohol solvent next to you to clean your brush in between. Otherwise, you're going to ruin the brush if you don't clean it in between. Something that you can completely do that is fine as long as your model is okay with it is ask them to hold the glue for you. If you have an assistant, thank you. If you have an assistant on hand, that's a great thing they can do too, is they can hold the glue and they can hold the cotton buds for you so they can just pass it to you when you need it. It is kind of like, you're kind of like an octopus when you're doing this. There's a lot of steps that you have to go through. So having someone available to help you out with that is great. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit, and remember when we were talking about adhesives in the last course, you don't need a ton of this adhesive to do the job. Especially for this, we are not going to be going out and about for an entire night. We're not going to be going on a film set with this. We just need it to last for the majority of the time that we're here for the course. So we're also not trying to give it the most insane staying power right now, but this Pros-Aid will give it great staying power. So take a little bit of the product here. Close your eyes for me. Always have your model close their eyes, especially when you're working around the eyes and with adhesives. Again, you just don't want to run the risk of anything dripping into their eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start applying some of this. And now you'll see I'm kind of putting this in the outside middle of the area. I'm not putting it completely everywhere yet because we want to adhere the center first and then blend outwards from there with the glue. So get a nice even application of Pros-Aid, and you'll see I am just using the Pros-Aid to flatten the brows down a bit. And now, again, remember, you know Pros-Aid at this point. You have to let it dry and get tacky before you can put anything down. Pros-Aid is a water-based acrylic emulsion like we were talking about earlier. So if you think about it, there's water to it. If it doesn't dry down properly and you put a piece on top of it, the piece is going to be smothering the pour, and then the water is going to just mix with the sweat and start to break everything down. It's also not going to adhere properly if you just put it straight on and don't give it the time to get tacky and dry down yet. So now we wait. You can always take a little hair dryer if you have a hair dryer handy. Give it a quick little blast of air to speed up the process a little bit. This is great to do if you're under time constraints or if you're just working really fast and you want to speed it up a bit. Remember, if you're using the hair dryer, keep it on the low setting because you don't want to burn them with the air. If you are using the hairdryer, just be careful that you don't blow all the powder away. Aside from low heat, you want low air flow as well, because you don't want to blow that powder away, otherwise you don't know where to put the prosthetic. Close your eyes. Have them close their eyes and just give a quick little burst here. Now once you get more familiar with the prosthetics, you don't have to do that whole powder shebang that I did before. That's a really good method when you're first starting out, when you're unfamiliar with where the placement goes. It's great because it gives you a visual of exactly where to put it. But once you're more well versed in them, you know exactly where to put them. You can just kind of throw them on and go.